Coming to you live from the Cross Country Mortgage Campus in Berea, Ohio. This is Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You feeling strong, my friend? Call me Elf one more time.
He's an angry elf.
They got him, and they knock him down. Myles Garrett got him. All the way back inside the 20-yard line. The Browns have the ball.
Of course. I mean, when you're going into any game, you're looking for any kind of edge you can have and any chip on your shoulder. And they gave us just a little bit of bulletin board material, and we ran with it.
It was really fun. It was fun to see just the O-linemen confused and not knowing who was going where. You know, it worked out exactly how Coach Schwartz said, you know, so we listen to Coach Schwartz, and Coach Schwartz we trust.
3rd down and 5 for Burrow in the Bengal offense. And on 3rd and 5, he takes a high snap. He's up in the pocket. They're going to get him and knock him down. They sack him back at the 49-yard line. As the Browns blow in and get him, Obo Okoronkwo got him.
And Kevin, like we said before, he gave me the keys to be able to check to the right play. And I saw the perfect look, and they did what we wanted them to do, and we got in the end zone.
From the 13, 2nd down, it's a draw. Here comes Watson running. 10, corner, 5, touchdown!
Here are your hosts, Bo Bishop and Nathan Zagura.
You guys ready?
Oh, baby.
You are up.
Oh, let's do it live on a Victory Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. World's team, let's go.
Oh, baby. What a treat. 24-3. Feeling nice. Slumptown, USA. By the way, I had 24-20. I was just being generous.
Just generous.
Just generous.
Just generous.
Yes, out there dominating D. We had talked about the new D of Jim Schwartz all offseason, this new remade defensive line with 7 new faces. It was everything you wanted. And here's the best part. These are the defending AFC North champions. The team that has been to the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship twice in the last 2 years.
That's right.
We turned the ball over twice in their territory.
Yeah.
Deshaun missed a couple of passes that I think under normal conditions he would have made.
Build the dome.
Say it again.
Build the dome.
Build the dome. By the way, shout out Uno for that Call Me Elf One More Time open. That was electric.
That was great. Good job, Uno.
And we beat them by 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns. This team has closing power. In years past, it would have felt like on that 4th down, up 13, the other team would have somehow got it, and then all of a sudden we'd be up 6, and it'd be tension central, and right there, closed the door. I loved it.
This is the thing that was that just jumped out to me just exponentially.
Love it.
There's nothing fluky here.
No.
This was domination. They could not handle you up front. They had no chance up front whatsoever. They could not handle Nick Chubb. I mean, the self-inflicted wounds kept it where it was. Now, I'm not here to suggest that the Bengals are fully formed. They're not. They're going to be a lot better. Burrow missed pretty much the entire camp. He practiced for a week.
Of course.
So they'll be better. But sometimes styles make the fights. And when we play them, we're the better team and have been in previous years. We have some kryptonite for them that's very real, and it starts with 95. It continues with 24. But this was a game, buddy, that was so dominant up front. They had no prayer. The folks, I think the coolest Browns video that I've seen in a decade or so going around is Myles Garrett doing a shadow basketball crossover in front of their line, and Burrow is trying to check it, and Myles is standing right in front of him. I mean, it was just savage.
It was
stuff.
like stalking. He was stalking him.
And he's like crossing over in the air and then like a missile. They had no chance to block it. Burrow had no chance. Burrow was so done. 3rd quarter, I'm done. I've had enough. After the last sack, the one you just described when Myles got him and it slammed the final nail in the coffin, Burrow's, I'm good. I don't need to see any more of this. I'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. And they started 0-2 last year. They went to the AFC Championship game. So there's a reason that they're feeling okay, and there's a great reason that we're feeling great. That play, I watched that happen, and after the sack by Obo, I couldn't believe it. I said, Myles Garrett is up there doing crossover dribbles and then gives a little like stutter step in and then back around. The best part is, so I watched the whole game on the all 22 and the end zone view so you can get the O-line, D-line play this morning. Myles and Za'Darius got to the quarterback. I think they combined for 8 quarterback hits or 10. We had 10 as a team. They had 4 apiece. You're talking about Zary should have had a sack. They both had 6 pressures, 4 quarterback hits. I mean, it was just a dominant
They were
performance.
around him the entire game. He had no chance to step into anything, just nothing.
Remind me, and I can't think of one. If anybody can, let me know. I don't recall seeing a holding penalty called at any point in the game on the Bengals.
No, I don't recall one.
No, there were holds called on us.
That's right. Yeah,
but I didn't see one on the Bengals.
That's a good point.
There are
I don't either.
Multiple times I watched both Miles on the crossover one. If you let that run all the way through, the center literally bear hugs him around his waist so he can't get the sack, and then Obo gets the sack.
Yeah.
No flag. There are times when they are literally holding Zadarius Smith like as though they are hugging him under his arms, under his neck like this. No flags. All right in front of the refs. They both got held blatantly, like insanely blatantly, like 5 times each.
It's funny that you say that because it felt like the Bengals' offensive line, and they still were just completely dominated, but it felt like their offensive line was taking like the old Seahawks defensive backs approach, where like if you pass interfere on every call, every play, they're not going to
can't call it anymore.
And that was kind of like what it felt like, because it felt like our guys were constantly being restrained.
How is there not one though?
Yeah, I know, it was wild. But it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
It was to vanquish a team. It's so interesting. Like it's not getting the attention today as you think of the national conversations around the league. And if you're looking for that type of stuff, we're probably not going to get it, and that's fine. We'll have to earn it on the field. We're more than ready to do that. But that type of domination is not getting the attention it deserves around the league. It's a lot of talk about Dallas and San Francisco and some of the other things around the league. There's been very little dialogue about this, and it's people want to pass it off as like, oh, Burrow's rusty, Bengals rusty. They did it last year. They've earned the right for that. I get it. They did it. They've earned the right for people to have patience with them. But this isn't about that. If you watch this game, you saw physical domination. I haven't seen it from a Browns team in my time, not like that.
Well, that's the thing.
I've not seen that.
This wasn't they had some misfires and we executed perfectly. We didn't execute.
We were not necessarily clean.
We did not execute perfectly.
No.
What you're talking about is physical domination. Mm-hmm. And if you watch the Steelers-Niners, that's exactly what happened in that game as well.
That's right.
The Niners physically dominated the Steelers, especially in the trenches.
Bigly.
That's what we're going to have to do on Monday night, but we'll get to Monday night
later
later on in the week. Yeah. But this is something that travels. What we've got right now up front, that travels. What we have on the back end, and listen, I like PFF. I do. If MJ Emerson coming out of this game was not considered to be one of the better coverage corners in the league, I don't understand what they're doing.
Ask Joe Burrow. He said it postgame.
And he was not considered that. And he ran 3 or 4 routes for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
He beat Higgins on the one down the sideline. He beat him to the point.
Yeah, he had to play defense on him. Right. They switched roles. They were inverted. MJ Emerson is a stud. Greg Newsome is a stud. Denzel, all of them. And you know what I love watching? Our linebackers, Taki back, Awok back, flying to the ball, and so was JOK. Now, JOK still will sometimes go the wrong direction. He did on the long Joe Mixon run. But for the most part, he was in there. He was physical. He was blowing plays up, knifing in, making big plays. I loved what we saw defensively. And offensively, it was good enough in this game, and we utilized things that, we're probably not going to utilize every single week. Sean was saying, okay, I'm having trouble gripping this football in this weather. I'm having trouble with my footing. They ran it. I mean, that play call, and he checked into that, but it was one obviously they'd worked on all week. On the touchdown.
By the way, that drive was pristine out of him.
Well, and the throw to DPJ on the sideline over Mike Hilton,
clean,
there was nowhere to put that football.
Real deal.
Yeah.
Real deal.
I think that hit kind of woke him up, and he stopped thinking a little bit. But, when you go back and watch it, you could say to yourself, this game could have been 40-3.
So that you were there, obviously. I've talked to people who were there. I mean, it was brutal.
My wife, the glorious Miss K, was miserable.
It was awful, right?
Miserable.
Like it was.
You just sat in a steady rain the entire game.
So what's crazy is apparently all the rest of the metro was sunshine.
It only rained over the stadium.
Like only over the stadium. Like
only
I went out. I looked outside. I'm like, sunshine and boys are playing football. I'm like, come out to the east side, baby.
Not a drop.
We got sun everywhere.
So not a drop in Olmsted Falls.
You either?
You got
crazy?
You got like 5 minutes up 90.
And then it was
bone dry. Like as if it did not rain. It literally just sat over the stadium for the entirety of the game. And nobody was prepared for it. I don't think their players were prepared for it.
No, clearly.
No, they were handing out raincoats on the sidelines.
They
were
not
kid
ready.
texts me. She goes, they sold out of ponchos.
Yeah.
I wonder if there are a certain type of prepared football that if they know it's going to be a rain game.
I was curious about that.
If there is, and I'd have to ask Brad that.
Or gloves, because one thing about a lot of the receiver gloves now is when they get wet, they get slippery.
Yep.
But there are some that when they get wet, they get sticky.
Yeah, like the old Newmans.
The old Newmans. But
Sure.
but like the boys, even now when they wear the gloves, like if it's wet, they got to throw them away because they can't catch anything.
Burrow put a glove on.
So that must be one that's like a tackified.
And he said he thought it was the hardest time he's ever had gripping a football.
Yeah. Well, it looked it.
And
he
looked
averaged
at
2.6 yards an attempt.
Yeah.
Burrow did.
The ones with Deshaun I felt were a little different because Deshaun and some of those was operating from a very good situation, and the ball you could tell just came out funky on him and went fluttered down, but made enough good throws, as I said, and they utilized his legs, and then we got even back. What I love about this team is we have so many things that we can do, but if you need to and the conditions call for it, we can line up in 13 personnel.
Oh, yeah.
And we can pound the rock, and we did that in the second half to kind of take control of this game.
You and I have watched him throw through camp. We've watched him throw through minicamp. He has not missed those two Marquise Goodwins at all.
The second one was tough because he got hit off of his back.
The first one,
that's
on the screws for the last 3 months.
The ball needed to be in the end zone. So
It's
he's
a walk-in.
5 yards.
It's a walk-in.
Awesome
he never.
play call.
It was, but it's just one of those things where I just don't think he had the correct grip.
And I felt like on two of the ones that short hop, they were digs. And I felt like everybody was a little unsure of their footing.
Yeah.
And you could tell that. And that's a dangerous pass to rip the dig because you're ripping it into a window between typically the dropping linebackers and then you have a corner coming down or a safety coming down. And it felt like you could tell on those he wanted to make sure he got there and then was a little bit out of sorts. But what he did as a runner, what he did, and that was his audible at the goal for the touchdown, the 13-yard touchdown.
Unbelievable audible.
Unbelievable because they were showing a cover zero.
Running them through and then
So they put everybody at the line. They did it twice in the game. They put everybody at the line, or they did 3 times. One of the times was when he tried to hit Goodwin on the go. Everybody at the line. And you could tell when the corners are all about 10 yards off, that's what they're doing. They're bringing the house. So Emotion got the back out of the way. They actually let Hendrickson go free, and all Wyatt Teller had to come back from his right guard spot and kind of kick him out and just push him up the field. He did that. Amari with a great block down the field, and Deshaun did the rest. Unbelievable play call because they knew if they slanted down, because Wills and Batonio both went right and left Hendrickson, and Teller was just able to push him upfield enough that he was able to kind of get right through, knife through that line. Man, that was unbelievable, and we needed that. And when you got that, it felt like, okay, we're going to be good to go.
I like what you said. I think it's the most
What are you
important.
looking at with him?
Gibby was giving me hand signals.
What do they mean?
Here's what I would say. The line that you said that I think is the most important for a Browns fan going forward, because I know that you're all trepidatious with everything because of, past and all of that. The line that you used to me is the most important one. It travels.
Yeah.
That defensive line travels. Nick Chubb travels. That's secondary. We talked about it briefly. Joe Burrow said afterwards, he goes, they got 2 of the best corners in the league in Emerson and Denzel. And he goes, Newsom's one of the best nickel corners in the league. He's like, their secondary is legit.
Real good.
And I don't know if you paid attention to this. 22, pretty good. Pretty good.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if there's been a program on the planet
that's
been a bigger fan of Grant Delpit than this here program.
He was sensational.
Sensational.
It all marries.
Sensational.
At every level. It all marries. Every single level marries.
I don't know if my voice can handle that right now, but
I'll take care of you. I got you.
Give it to me one more time.
Every level.
God, it was
every level. It was dominant up front. Linebackers flying to the ball. It was secondary. You were not playing C.J. Stroud in his first start. You were not playing Bryce Young in his first start. You're playing the guy who is the favorite to win the MVP of the league.
That's right.
Okay? And you dominated. 2.6 an attempt for Burrow yesterday. He's never been below 5.
I was just about to say that. I was literally about to come out on that. He's never been below 5 yards an attempt. It was his worst game on every level. Worst game of Joe Burrow's career.
On every level.
And last year he didn't play in the preseason. He had the emergency appendectomy. He didn't play.
But he was bad. He threw 4 picks.
Guys, I have Sione.
Yeah. They'll get better. One of the guys responsible for this joins us now on the Twisted Tea hotline, Sione Takitaki. Talk, man, That was fun. That was fun. That was fun to watch. It was fun for the fans. What was it like for you to be a part of it?
It felt great, man. I felt like it was a good first game for the defense to go out there and put it on tape on the things that we can do, and we didn't allow them to score, and that was a good thing. They only had a field goal, but yeah, it felt really good. Definitely gives you confidence for the rest of the year that what we're doing is right, and so we're all excited, and we got to continue to work like this.
Tak, when you've gone through what you did, last year, finally getting to start at Mike linebacker, having a career year, you go down with that ACL. Was week 1 always something that was in your mind? Because I don't know if people remember. That was week 13. That was in Houston that happened. Yeah. And you were back out there making plays, flying around. Was that something? Was that always in your mind? Was that kind of the light at the end of the tunnel that you always had in the back of your mind when you started your rehab?
Yeah. I always knew, I told, my family, my wife, everybody, the Joe and the trainers, Gene, everybody, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be ready for week 1. And, at the time, it's kind of like it's up in the air. They're like, oh, we'll take it day by day, week by week. And so, I was respectful to them and be like, yeah, let's take it week by week. But, I always was in their ear letting them know, like, I'm going to be ready for week 1. And so I'm just grateful for the training staff, everybody that worked with me, and my Savior, and God just kind of getting me through that whole hard time to get me ready for week 1. So I was excited to be out there with the guys running around and helping where I can.
When you go through that kind of a grueling rehab, you come back from it, I'm sure you have in your mind a vision of what that return is going to be like. You guys put Joe Burrow into the worst game of his career by a factorial. I mean, we're talking about by a monster level. Was that even better than you could have imagined coming back and for this defense that you've been watching and probably chomping at the bit to get to be a part of to come out here and perform like that?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It felt great, to go out there and limit him to his worst game and go out there as a defense and kind of, look whole, from D-line, linebackers to our secondary. We've been talking about it, letting you guys know, what we could do. But it's different when it's live and, these games count and you go out there and we're playing a conference game against a really good team in the Bengals. And so it felt really good, man. Like, everybody is excited. Watching the tape felt really good. A lot of things that we could clean up. We put a lot of great things on tape, but there's a lot of stuff that we could clean up and even be better. And so that's even more exciting, right? You're like, dang, like we look really good, but let's clean up the other stuff and we can look even better. And so, that was kind of the whole thought process today. Let's clean up the stuff we got to fix and get ready for the next week.
Talking to the great Sione Takitaki, great friend of the program. Tak, what is it about? I mean, you guys are, an off season and one game into this Jim Schwartz defense. From the outside looking in, it feels like you guys are arriving at the ball with a bad attitude and ready to inflict a little bit of pain. What is it about his approach that marries so well with this talent?
Well, that's Jim Schwartz's attitude. You know what I mean? He gets straight to the point, and that's what this defense is about. It's like, hey, we're not going to do no fair dodging or anything, man. We're gonna bring it right to your doorstep. So we really it fits all the guys. I've been saying it over and over, man. It fits the style of this team. When you look at the roster, and I tip my hat to Jim Schwartz and the coaches, man. They put us in great position to win, and I feel like they called a great game last night and yesterday, and we went out there and executed, man. But it's a downhill defense. Everyone's going to be physical. We got guys, trying to get to the quarterback, and we have the best secondary. So, you know what I mean? It's awesome.
I like that downhill defense.
I do like that.
That's a great way to describe what it looks like.
It is downhill. It's aggressive.
Yeah.
We had a couple double A gap mugs there where we brought the house, and then even a grand on a delay there. Got a big hit. Yeah. Tak, one of the things that you hear guys like Rodney McLeod and Juan Thornhill and Obo, guys who have come to this team that have won Super Bowls and other places, is that it's not enough to just be good at your job and to study the tape. You guys have to truly be close. And one of the things that the Browns emphasized this offseason with the trip to the Greenbrier with those long days in Philadelphia, was that this team would get close. And Greg Newsome shared something with us on the Kevin Stefanski show this past Thursday, was that after he did that appearance, he was actually going to meet with the entire defense to get together, break some bread, watch the season opener of the Chiefs and the Lions. What does it feel different to you? Does this feel like a closer unit? Is that something that, is exciting to you to see the way that this team is coming together on and off the field?
Yes. This team, since I've been out, this team is different. It feels like you guys are saying, we are a lot closer. You know what I mean? Getting to know each other, on the field, but then off the field too, and being learning people, my teammates, and being personal with them. I feel like you hit it on the head. We went to Greenbrier, Coach. It was a good time for us to go there and mingle with each other, get to know each other a little bit deeper, and then. Like Newsome said, man, we've been having dinners and also watching film with each other. No coaches there. We've been watching extra tape together. Spending 30 minutes to an hour. After days are done, to kind of study together and just holding each other accountable. I feel like this unit is definitely special, and so we just got to keep this thing going and things will fall in place.
Tuck, did you see the video of Miles on the shadow crossover? Have you seen that yet? Did you see it on tape show up by chance? Did you see it in the moment?
Yes. When he was kind of doing the Euro step, dribbling. Yeah. It's awesome to watch. Just imagine, the center, he's like, oh, dang,
yeah.
Miles is a freak, man. You know what I mean? And him to work that crossover was pretty funny.
Well, it's one of those things. I mean, and Burrow's sitting here staring at him, trying to audible out of it, going like, "I got this, I got to deal with." It was just classic. But I think it speaks to, you've been around Miles a long time, and we all know that the talent is what it is. But it does feel like this year, even by his standards, feels a little different. Is that fair?
Yes, I would definitely agree with him. It's different, man. We're a lot closer. We're joking around, and it's exciting. It's really exciting, man.
It is exciting, and I bet for linebackers, when you got guys like Dalvin Tomlinson and Shelby Harris up there keeping you guys free to flow to the ball, that's got to be nice as well. What was it like for your first game, kind of playing the second level behind that front that really kept you guys clean to get to the ball?
I love it. I really do. As a linebacker, I love it. I'm smiling cheek to cheek right now, just playing behind those big guys. Like, you guys, DT, man, went crazy, just to see him. You guys go turn on that tape, man. We kind of talked about it this morning a little bit as a unit, but just you turn on that tape, man, and see DT just firing off the ball. Keeps a lot of people clean and makes a lot of other guys around him make plays. And, a lot of the good stuff that he's doing might not show up on the stat sheet, you know what I mean? But when you turn on the tape, you see, he's a real dominant player. And so it's exciting to play behind this front that is so aggressive to attack certain spots and letting linebackers just kind of run free and hit. So it marries well together. And again, man, I'm just excited to keep this thing going.
Yeah, us too, man. Thank you so much for your time, pal. Enjoy your Victory Monday. We know we are around here, but enjoy yours, and we'll talk to you soon. Great game, bud.
Hey, appreciate you guys, man. Thanks for having me.
Talk. Love
so
him.
good, man.
Yeah,
think about what he's been through, and to be able to have that opener, it was very, very special. Those are the hot topics of the day, presented by Vivid Seats, official fan experience partner of your Cleveland Browns. Speaking of Browns fans, Avocados from Peru will be at the Avon Meyer location 1 to 3 on Friday, September 15th. That's this Friday. Stop by to enter the Ultimate Football Sweepstakes for your chance to win a 2023 Ford Lightning electric truck. Play games, win prizes. Meet Kevin Mack. For more information, visit Cleveland Browns Facebook page, and you will find it there. Not all sunshine. We have a big injury. We'll get into that. Coming up next, you'll also hear from Coach Stefanski at the podium. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns, on a Victory Monday edition right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk, serious lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. You heard the voice of the great Jim Donovan there on that call. And
yes,
obviously he is going to take some time and get well and be better. Obviously emotional at the end of the broadcast yesterday with Jim, to say the least. And look, he's the voice. He's the best. I mean, he's the best. He's the best there is, and we're all pulling for him, and we love him to death, and just know that he'll be back, and as you said on the broadcast so eloquently, better than ever when he is healthy. But all of our thoughts and prayers are with Jim Donovan.
Just send him your love.
Send it to him.
Think about it. Send that positive energy, and we can't wait to get Jim back in the booth where he belongs, calling more Browns victories like he did here yesterday at Cleveland Browns Stadium.
It was a game that, this has been an off season that it felt like anything that you and I could say on this show, or anything that there was never enough, right? Because it was always like, yeah, right.
You got to see it.
Right.
You
we
got to
go
do
see
it.
it. And we would show me state, right? Get to September, and then you'll show me. And it was interesting, like the amount of you and I were texting on Saturday night and into Sunday morning, and the amount of like family, friends who were like, well, they better show it. Like, I felt like I was like ownership. Like,
yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
It's like I'm accountable if they don't beat the Bengals. I'm like, well, they look really good. Like, I don't know what to tell you. They look very, very good. And then they did. And it was a release for so many Browns fans to have it go the way that it did. I think at times it's like people didn't really know how to handle the success of it all. There was a strange thing that was happening on social. Like, in fact, many of the national people picked up on it. Like, you mentioned the Deshaun pick. You probably didn't notice this because obviously you're working, you're doing the game. And on the pick, I mean, Barstool, I want to say PFF, everybody quick to like tweet out, well, here's the worst throw of the day without the context of it being picked. Like, they cannot wait to pounce
on him,
on us. Yeah. They cannot wait. And it was so crazy. Like, well, Deshaun Watson really sucks. And it was at halftime, and I put up the stats of him and Burrow.
Right.
And I went, yeah, it's not as if this is hard for everybody. So this is something you're going to have to combat all season long, and you're fine with it because it all travels, and the winning makes it go away.
No, but you're exactly right. And it looked like the ball was a little bit slipping out of his hands. That's what I thought. And then on the replay, you could see actually 95 got his paw up there, deflected that pass. No context for that whatsoever, which was
They didn't even get a replay
absurd.
Right away. It wasn't even until coming back from break that you got the replay.
That's why on our monitor it was hard to see.
You texted me and you're like, it got tipped. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Because they never showed it.
That's wild that they never showed that.
They did, but it was much after. It wasn't like right away. It wasn't right after the pick. They went right to break, and then it wasn't right away coming back that they showed it got tipped.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was stupefying, the way that all of that was handled. It was brutal conditions for both.
Yes.
And the proof is in. I mean, Burrow's proven, and he had a hell of a time trying to make it work there. There was some tough news yesterday.
Yes.
It was pretty obvious as soon as in watching it, you knew right away what had happened to Jack Conklin. It was immediately obvious that he was going to be done for the year. Confirmed now from Schefter via reporting that Conklin tore his ACL and MCL, done for the year for Jack. We know, I mean, he's been through this stuff before. He just signed his extension. Had a very, very solid camp. And your thoughts are with him and his family. And I can't imagine like getting hurt in the opener, like a full year of rehab ahead of you. Luckily for us, if there is a luckily, we discovered a tackle in the draft who has been one of the stories of camp. And I am not Joe Thomas. I won't pretend to be, but we'll have him on in the next hour.
I was going to say, we'll get to talk to him.
From my vantage point, DeJuan Jones looked more than ready for the moment.
Yeah, absolutely had an excellent accounting of himself, did not surrender a single pressure, and that to me is pretty significant because he was going against Sam Hubbard for the majority of that time. Now, I think there are things that, they're going to want him to clean up a little bit in the run game, but ultimately, if you can pass protect, you can play in this league and you can make a lot of money in this league and be a force. And DeJuan Jones, 20 pass blocking snaps yesterday, not a single pressure, and in fact, he and Conklin combined for 35 without allowing a pressure from that right tackle spot. Now, it's going to be much more of a challenge this week going against TJ Watt, But he was excellent. He'll be fully prepared for it. I'm sure they will give some help to that side. But this was a great first game in the NFL for him after what had been a great preseason. You think about end up in the preseason, and now this game, he's north of, I think, 150 pass blocking snaps since he's come here without giving up a sack.
I mean, the moment didn't seem too big for him at all.
Not
I mean,
at all.
as soon, it's just one of the casualties of the league, right? Like, you see Jack is down, and already Dwan's in there. Like, he's in the huddle, he's ready to go, and didn't skip a beat. So I thought he was sensational. It's an incredible find in the draft.
Yes,
to get somebody of that physical talent and then ability. He mentioned post game that, like going up against Sam Hubbard, there's a lot of familiarity because obviously Larry Johnson, the legendary defensive line coach at Ohio State, teaches those guys a lot of those moves, and Dwan spent his entire career at Ohio State going up against those type of guys and blocking for NFL quarterbacks. So it kind of made it so the transition for him was relatively about as easy as it could be.
It's just so sad to see Jack Conklin. And you think about the injuries that he has dealt with in his career. Yeah. You think about what Jakeem Grant went through earlier this year. And this game can be cruel and totally unfair. And Conklin got hurt on that play. Unfortunately, it was like three bad things happened in the play. Jed Wills gets beat by Trey Hendrickson. He tips the ball away from Deshaun, who was going to throw a ball to Amari, who was wide open. And then the momentum of that, Hendrickson and Wills kind of fly around right into the leg of Jack Conklin. So he couldn't even see it coming.
Nothing to do with it.
It was just a complete random freak type of a thing. And so your heart goes out to him. We are lucky that we are in good shape and still have James Hudson as a backup tackle. I imagine the Browns will make a move to bring back a tackle. Remember, we traded Tyrone Wheatley for Pierre Strong, and so you'll have to bring in another tackle back here. It could be a veteran. I think Kelly was with us. That could be somebody that they bring back as the to fill that spot. But tough break, and that's the hard part about this game. And ultimately, one injury for the Browns is very fortunate, right? Like that's compared to around the league.
Yeah, starting tackle in Seattle went down. Cross, he went down. J.K. Dobbins with an Achilles again.
He is snake.
He just can't. Yeah, can't stay healthy. I mean, it's
awful.
Like Jacob Phillips, like you just just can't. It's no fault of their own. Just bad luck across the board. In terms of when you start having the conversation about what needs to get better, we can have the conversation about Jed Wills because and we'll have it with Joe too. Like it was rough day for him. Now you're going up against a really good player in Hendrickson, who's great, but it was something that has got to be better because especially early in the first half, Watson's he could hardly even get to a full drop.
No, and then he had to be moving, and that was the problem. And one of the other shot plays got taken away because he had an opportunity to get the ball down the field. But, yeah, Jed Wills, we gave up 7 pressures as an offensive line. 4 of them were by Jed Wills.
Yeah.
So he was the one guy that they were able to get nothing from Bitonio, nothing from Teller, nothing from Conklin or DeJuan Jones. Ethan Posick also gave up 3 pressures up the middle on a couple of their stunts, but did a good job. That's got to get cleaned up. He had a couple of nice run blocks, so that was good. But for the most part, when you look at the plays that kind of got bogged down or bottled up, it unfortunately started with 71. And that's got to be cleaned up because this offense has the chance to be very explosive. We need, obviously, the quarterback to hit some of the throws that, in normal conditions, and say it again, build a dome. But that seems to be right now the one leaky spot on this offensive line.
Yeah,
and he was the 10th overall pick.
Yeah, I think it's one of the few on the team, honestly.
Yeah.
There aren't too many. Jerome Ford would have liked to have the fumble back, but they went back to him, and he kind of validated, as the game went. You can't fumble, obviously, but it's just brutal. But he did show you
on their 20.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, I mean that's points away.
David Bell dropped.
David Bell too.
I want to see more of Marquise Goodwin, and if there's ever a time where they're like, let's put David Bell out there, put Cedric Tillman out there. Like, I don't get it anymore.
Yeah, I mean it's just a stick. He just puts it right on you. There's nobody near you.
You got to catch.
It's tough. Yeah, I don't know. You wonder what
Goodwin, I think, will play. He only played 10 snaps in this. I think that's going to go up and up and up because he is a difference maker. When you just go back and watch the plays, a difference maker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those throws will be on the money as the season progresses. I'm not worried about that. But he is a difference maker, and he will also change the way that teams defend us. And he's the one guy that I believe that's true of. Amari's a technician. DPJ is fast and makes big plays, but it's a different type of downfield threat. This is straight up like, dude, I will run by you, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. So you better get deeper and deeper and deeper. And what does that do? Space.
Dude,
Space.
He ran twice.
There were not a lot. By the way, going back to the other thing that stood out to me watching tape was good job by the Bengals in coverage. There were not a lot of places to go with the ball. Unfortunately, the 4 times where there was somebody wide open, it felt like that's when the ball either got away from Deshaun or he didn't quite get enough on. Like, he had to make some pretty good throws.
Oh gosh,
to keep it moving at times.
Their safeties did all right.
They're just fine.
Yeah.
Deshaun was under duress more than you would have liked in this game.
There's no question. Well, you said 7 and 4 out of Jed, so that's a big part of it. But guess what? It's good to have these lessons in a win, a dominant win over a Cincinnati Bengals team that a lot of people picked to win the Super Bowl, be in the Super Bowl, represent the AFC, and you were physically better.
Yes,
physically better, and especially defense. It was. A lot of talk this morning is about Dallas's defense. It's about Philly's defense. It's about the 49ers defense. Better start talking about this one because this one is right there. If we can stay healthy, especially in the secondary, we've had injuries historically, but if our secondary can stay healthy and you marry those cover corners with that pass rush, I mean, that's where it starts to get. That's where it starts to get a little bit scary. Does your furry friend have what it takes to beat out the competition? Enter the Dog Race Sweepstakes presented by Milkbone for a chance to have your pup compete in the annual halftime dog races. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/contest to enter and check out more from the Milkbone at your local grocery or pet supply store. Coach Stefanski at the podium coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Here for my friends at Renew Home Exteriors. Does your home need a new roof? Replace your roof for the final time with Renew Home Exteriors. Replace once for life warranty. This month, with the purchase of a new roof, you get free installation on a solar-powered attic fan to help take the load off your AC unit, keep your attic venting properly. Save with no interest for 24 months, accepting all insurance claims. That's huge. Renew Home Exteriors, superior products, superior service. Visit renewestimate.com for more. And now let's head to the podium and Coach Kevin Stefanski.
On the injury front,
You're down.
Jack does have a major injury there, so he's going to miss the season. That will require surgery. So, like I talked about yesterday, very, very disappointed for Jack. Spent some time with him yesterday, spent some time with him today. He's a huge part of this team. And when he gets this surgery and when he's ready, he's going to be back in this building helping us because he's just again, a big part of that offensive line room. You guys know how tight that room is. Just for this team, what he provides. So disappointed for him, but classic football. You never know when these things happen. It's going to be a next man up type of thing. On the game yesterday, really the tape confirmed what we all saw out there. Dominant defensive performance. Really proud of the guys in executing the game plan. Tough conditions for both sides, but I thought the defense was outstanding. Offensively, moved the ball, made some plays. Again, in not ideal conditions, there's still plenty of opportunities in that game to make some big plays, as we know, and that's the good news moving forward is we hope to make them. And then special teams, I thought Dustin was really good in his opportunities there. I thought Mike Ford played really well, a bunch of different guys playing well in that phase. So good to get that one, but it's really on to the next one. Once the guys leave the building today, you got to let that one go. Win, lose, or draw, you got to let it go. So we'll be on to the next one, but really good start. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Kevin, can you just talk a little bit about, why DeWand over James Hudson, and now DeWand is going to draw the tough assignment of TJ Watt in Pittsburgh, and how do you think he'll handle that? Yeah,
DeWand has been constantly working with Coach Callahan, Coach Peters, Coach DeCoster to get ready. There are no red shirts in the NFL, so you never know when that opportunity is going to come. It happened in the first half of the first game, and you have to be ready. He will continue to get better. And then, as it pertains to any matchup moving forward, it's the NFL every week is going to be very difficult. Obviously, going into Pittsburgh is tough on every team that goes into that place. So we'll have a plan and we'll move forward.
Yeah, Coach, when you went back and looked at the film, you mentioned there were some opportunities offensively, especially in that first quarter. When you went back and looked at it, how much of some of those misfires deep down the field in the passing game were a result of timing, and how much do you think were weather related?
Yeah, I think the ball was heavy and wet. It was a constant mist. It was strange. Like I mentioned to you guys yesterday, I did not know it was going to rain. And then lo and behold, it's coming down in some weird sheets without raindrops. I don't know how to describe it. But it was to our advantage. We found a way to move the ball, put some points on the board. Our defense played really well, but it definitely had an impact on the passing game.
Kevin, over the course of his career, Deshaun averages about 5 runs a game, and he had 5 Sunday. Tell me how important it is for the threat of his running to open things up, and just his general use of his legs. Are you comfortable? Do you want more?
Yeah, I think it's going to be depending on the game, Tony, and the moment and all those type of things. I think if you look at yesterday, Deshaun made a play on the first third down, scrambled and made a first down. He had made plays on design runs. He made plays, but just by carrying out his fakes. You're going to watch on some of those runs where him carrying out his fakes, a lot of the defense is aware of his ability with the ball in his hand. So that's a huge part of what we do, whether it's by design, whether it's off schedule, whether it's a third down scramble, whether it's a 1st and 10, quarterback designed run. All of that is part of who we are. I think the game and the different game plans and those type of things will determine how often that occurs.
Hey, Kevin, I'm going to ask you about Marquise Goodwin. There was a couple of missed connections there, probably because of that heavy ball. But how encouraging is it to you as a play caller when he could get behind the secondary like that?
Yeah, first of all, how nice was it just to see him back out there on the football field for everything that he's been through in the last few months. And I told him that. I thought, that just him being out there in uniform, Takitaki being out there, A-Walk, I mean, what these guys go through, and then out there performing is fun for us to see. And I there's so much work that goes into it that we don't see. So I'd first say that, yeah, Marquise, his speed is world class. He can really do it all. He's not just a speed receiver. He will utilize that speed, but that speed allows you to run a lot of different routes. So he's somebody that we're excited to have and looking forward to doing some things with him really throughout the season.
Kevin, I know we talked about obviously the weather having an impact on the passing game, but moving forward, what would you like to see in that area, like the growth in the passing game moving forward, especially heading into Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I think, as you see, and we saw it you felt it in that game, and there were opportunities. We couldn't connect on a few of them, but bottom line is we got to always look for those big plays down the field. If they're there, if they're not there, we have other options. But part of this game and part of every game is going to be trying to find explosives in the pass game.
Hey, Kevin, it's hard to find fault when you win 24-3 and impressive, but the stats, 70% or more in a negative, turnover ratio, you're -2. So how much more does that, impress to come over that when you didn't get the takeaways that you're stressing and you still win dominant?
Yeah, being -2 is not a way to consistently win. So we have to take care of the ball offensively, and we know that. And I think there was 2 good learning plays there. Obviously, the ball got tipped on the interception. They fumble. We got to have 2 hands on the ball in the pile like that. But we'll always stress ball security because it's hard to win when you're -2.
Yeah, Kevin, your defensive front is getting a lot of love this morning for that performance yesterday. When you went back and watched it on tape, they had only 2 sacks, but you hit the quarterback at least 10 times. Did it look as good to you as it seems to be looking to the rest of us outside the building?
Yeah, and I would tell you, Daryl, it was a good performance by the defense, obviously, good performance up front, but it's a bunch of different guys. It was Miles, it was Adarius, Dalvin, I thought was really strong. I mentioned Obo earlier. So when we're at our best, we're rolling those guys and keeping everybody fresh so everybody gets an opportunity to rush the passer, to stop the run. But it was a really impressive outing for that entire group.
Kevin, you mentioned a bunch of different guys effective in the pass rush, but I'm curious the variety of blitzes and pass rushes and formations that Jim Schwartz used. Just how tough on that is that on a quarterback, offensive line, and play caller?
Back at 30.
Difficult, and I think we've talked about this before. Just with Miles, teams go into every week playing us. They're going to have a plan for Miles, and it's typically a chip plan, or they're going to slide the front to him. So the more ways you can either move him around or let other guys get opportunities is a big part of it. So that's not going to be unique. What is unique week to week is we'll come up with a plan that puts our guys in position to succeed. And what we did in the last one, maybe totally different what you do in the next one. It's really based on the opponent and where you think there are matchups for your side.
You're up.
Let me pose this to you. The Joe Thomas Hour coming up here momentarily.
Yes.
Are we responsible for the most impressive AFC showing of the weekend? Miami's was really good.
Miami was...
Well, they were great.
It
was like a classic Xbox game, right?
Yeah,
like Madden game. Like they spun it, but they couldn't stop him either. Like it was.
No. Did you see that throw he made on the one where he stepped up at the end?
I think people were confused because he's left-handed to think that he doesn't have arm strength and it looks different. So they're not used to seeing it, but he can put it where he needs to put it.
No. Well,
we beat the team. We beat a team.
Yes.
That was one of 2 or 3 teams that people thought would come out of the AFC handily, at home, defensively dominant.
Here's the best news.
So if you were going to say, like, now we're going to get one tonight with the Jets and the Bills, this is a fun game for sure. But the most dominating performances of the weekend were Dallas over the Giants, 49ers over Pittsburgh, and us.
Us, and the Rams. Which
right,
was a stunner.
Unless you're me. Well, scores were very kind to your Uncle Bo.
Did you have a good week? That means I did it.
Like 13-2 or something crazy.
I hope you guys listen to Uncle
ridiculous.
Bo.
Yeah, we did quite well. The Joe Thomas Hour coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Joe.
All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Let's head on the Twisted Tea hotline. No doubt, wearing only. Look at him. Look at the Hawk. He looks great. Look at him. No doubt, wearing only the gold jacket. It is the Joe Thomas half hour of the program. Hoff, how you living?
Having me on. What a hell of a victory Monday we got right now.
Yes, Hoff. Hoff, we're just looking at, and you can't see this, but we've got this beautiful graphic of you that's up, and you're in the gold jacket, the blue eyes just really standing out, piercing. But I love that they have an offensive tackle, the greatest ever, posing, holding a football. Like, I know that you played football, but, like, you never held the football at any point in your career. And if you did, something was going really wrong.
It'd be a real awkward Ricky Bobby picture if I didn't have something to hold on to. I have no idea what to do with my hands. Wearing nothing but the gold jacket, it could get R-rated very quickly.
It could get dicey. Well, Hoff, yesterday you probably had your hands in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Victory. What did you think as you watched this one unfold, other than the obvious Build-A-Dome?
That's right. Hey, I pushed back just a little bit, although I do agree we do need a retractable dome.
Retractable's fine. We're not retractable.
I'm fine. Have the dome come on and off. I don't care.
Right. But yesterday,
I love it. Bring it. That's beautiful. Yes. It favored us a little bit because we had a quarterback that could run, and it played out in our favor several times in that game. They had a quarterback that couldn't, and running was very important in that game. But big takeaway, obviously, what a difference a year makes on defense.
Yep.
To be able to put Obo out there, to be able to put Dalvin Tomlinson, Darius Smith, I mean, they changed the makeup of the game because that was a game that, previously, if this was last year, Joe Mixon might kind of take over a little bit and then open up some things in the passing game and some weather conditions that made throwing it really tough. But there was no run game for Cincinnati. They had nothing going. Then the pressure was, of course, applied very significantly to Joe Burrow by the Browns defensive line and the secondary. I mean, how beautiful is it to see those guys just doing what they do best, playing a lot of man coverage, not having confusion in the secondary, no breakdowns, and just letting the dudes up front eat. Man, it was just a fun, comfortable Sunday. It's like some Sundays are supposed to feel like.
Yes.
Hoff, it was the physicality up front that struck me. I mean, we have not had a front like that defensively in a long time. Maybe you might got to go back probably to the late 80s to find one that was just so physical, so dominant, Yeah,
the upgrade obviously schematically was huge. I played against Jim Schwartz's defense a bunch, and it almost didn't matter who they had. And they always had good players, but the way he lets them play. And he insists that they play physical, they play up the field. He gives them very few things to think about. They're not worried about their gap as much. They're not worried about stopping the run. He just wants them to disrupt. They just need to be guys that create chaos up front and then let the linebackers clean things up. And I think that unlocks a lot of guys' potential that sometimes you get these defensive linemen who are very talented, and sometimes they're drafted pretty highly. They got all the skills in the world, but they're thinking so much that it slows them down, and it doesn't actually allow them to play at their true speed and unlock their total potential. But Jim Schwartz, he unlocks that potential, and you saw every bit of it on Sunday.
And it was fun to watch. And, Bo, you made the great point earlier. That kind of physicality travels.
I did, yeah.
We will be able to take that anywhere you want. And that's going to be a great thing for the Cleveland Browns. But when you just give us your reaction as this play unfolded. It was the first sack. Myles Garrett is now standing up as like an inside linebacker over the center and is walking up, doing crossovers through his legs, gives a little step to the inside around the center, who, by the way, bear hugged him, literally grabbed him around his waist and bear hugged him. Yeah. No flag. We got held about 20 times. It was egregious, and I know as an offensive lineman you'd say, what do you mean none of those are holds? But yes, in this case they were. But what was going through your mind, and if you were on an offensive line where that is happening, like what is the thought process? Like what's going on?
Yeah, none of Juwan Taylor's snaps from Thursday night were offsides either. So just so we know there's a brotherhood here, there's a code of conduct among offensive linemen. But it was pure joy. That's exactly what I was thinking, is to see a defense with that type of swag, with a smile on their face, going out and just wrecking shop like that. It was fun, man, because I've been on the other side of it a few times when, the Ravens come to mind, right, because they had that swagger. Steelers playing against them, they always had great defenses, but they were much more workmanlike, whereas the Ravens with Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs and Ed Reed, like those dudes had swag, and when they were kicking your ass, like you knew it and you felt it, and they knew it and they were enjoying it and they were rubbing your nose in it. And I feel like we got a little bit of that on our defense. Now, I don't think they're maybe as dirty or as easy to dislike as some of the Ravens were.
That's right, very likely.
Because I think they have more fun with it. But it's just so fun to see a defense that's going out and that's putting the wood to an offense and firing up the crowd. Because to me, like when you play well on defense, and obviously that's a huge component, but then when you celebrate as a team, that ignites a fire throughout the entire roster that carries over to the other sides of the football, carries over to special teams. It carries over to your offense, and it breathes a life and an energy into the whole team that I don't think we always had last year.
You know, that's Jim Schwartz.
Yeah.
We had talk on Hoff, and he was talking about, you know, it's a downhill defense. I just love the way that he described it. It's a downhill defense. That's that swagger that he has infused. It comes from the top. I mean, Gibby had as one of the questions here for discussion, Fact or Fiction. Jim Schwartz was the Browns' best offseason acquisition. With Jim Schwartz's scheme came also his attitude, and I don't know that Miles does that in previous years, what he's doing here.
No, because he unlocks the performance, he unlocks the potential, and then I think he gives you the leeway to be able to have that personality, to be able to have that swag, because he almost insists the performance on the field to go with it. So, I mean, it's just fun, and everything that Schwartz does, I think, is about building that culture on defense, to build that culture of toughness, of aggressive, of chaos. But I think he does it in a fun way. You know, there's been some coordinators here that try to do some of the same things, and I think by and large they succeeded a little bit at times. They didn't have the players that we do now. Yeah. But I think it seems like Jim Schwartz is one of those guys that the players really like to play for, you know, and that's something that can carry through a season because there's going to be ups and downs. Like every week is not going to feel like this. The defense isn't going to perform at this level every single week. But when you love your coach, you respect him. He's tough, he's disciplined, he's hard-nosed, like he's all those things, he's demanding. But I think when you love your coach above all else, like when you go through those tough times, they bring you together instead of fracture you apart.
We didn't have Thornhill either, guys.
No,
we
had Rodney McLeod.
But Thornhill's been great.
Great. Yeah, but we had a guy who filled in that had started 138 games.
No, I know. But I'm like, you still didn't have like your optimal
lineup.
Defense,
but think about that's why what they did this offseason, and I'm going to give Andrew Barry credit, once he got Jim Schwartz and he had the relationship with him from Philly, he's been so excited about Jim Schwartz. Once they got him, they got the talent for him. And talk about Dalvin Tomlinson, who just was dominant yesterday. Zadarius Smith had 4 quarterback hits. He should have had 2 or 3 sacks. He got held 100 times in this game. It was insane. Mm-hmm. He's great. Obo, Thornhill, McLeod, all of these additions to this football team, all of them. And then also understanding, like, Grant Delpit had one of his best games, and he's coming off of a career year where he had over 100 tackles and 4 picks. He was one of 3 players in the NFL to do that a year ago, and he was flying around. I just love the way that this defense is, and it is a combination of scheme. It's a combination of a coordinator who gets it and is unlocking that talent, and it's also a combination of, boy, we got the best chef, some of the best ingredients to cook with.
Michelin restaurant, we're cooking right now, baby. I love it. 3 stars. Let's go.
Yes.
Give me the tasting menu times 2 for myself.
Hoff, let's flip it to the other side. Injuries are part of the game. Your heart breaks for Jack Conklin. You know he's been through this injury stuff before, and you knew right away what had happened. And obviously our thoughts and prayers with him as he tries to go through a very long recovery now for that. But in terms of Dwan coming in, we had seen him in preseason. He's been one of the stories of camp, been one of the stories of preseason. But this was live bullets against a divisional team that creates some of the most pressures in all of the NFL. What did you make of his performance first time out?
He was sensational. And I know we were really high on him coming out of the preseason. And you hear people going back forever and ever that they talk about preseason is just different than the regular season. And it is. There's no doubt. The speed is different. The intensity, how hard people are playing, the players now that are getting played in the regular season and the preseason are completely different since the starters rarely play now. in the preseason, but more than anything, it's the scheme that changes. Stefanski mentioned it a couple times in preseason when I was doing the broadcast that, hey, they're not showing hardly any cards. They might show a few wrinkles here and there just to give you something to practice, but they're not giving up anything. So you're basically going against what essentially is about a college level of scheme of a defense that's coming at you. So you don't have a whole lot to think about. You can just focus on your technique and the guy you got to block. But now all of a sudden for a guy like DeWand, who first of all didn't take all the reps because he wasn't the starter going into the game and he had to come in the middle of the game. So you're not getting the reps that you usually would get if you were a starter. And then you're going against a defense that's trying to confuse you, that knows you're a rookie, that knows this is your first start, that knows you came off the bench. So they're going to be throwing different blitz looks, different wrinkles at you that you had no chance to even watch on film because it hadn't been put on film yet this season. And for him to perform at the level that he did where nobody really noticed him, which is the ultimate compliment for any offensive tackle, was so awesome. I was so proud of him. Just got to meet him a few times, was so impressed with him in training camp. But already, I mean, the dividends that he's paying, drafting him in the 4th round. And, I mean, I don't want to get too high on what Andrew Berry was able to find in the 4th round pick, but I think it's pretty clear he belongs in the NFL as a starter. To be able to find a starting tackle in the NFL in the 4th round as only a rookie right now, and he's already playing the way he is one of the true sensations of this year's NFL because of how hard it is to find tackles in the NFL. And you see guys like Orlando Brown, who got his lunch handed and eaten the entire game by Myles Garrett, and he just got paid, how many tens of millions per year? And they're paying that type of performance, and DeWand outplayed him on the other side of the ball.
What advice would you have for DeWand going to Pittsburgh Monday night, TJ Watt, and all that will entail? Watt, by the way, coming off a game in which he had 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, 5 quarterback hits, and a pass defense in their 30-7 loss to the 49ers.
Well, it's going to be a different challenge, right? Obviously, TJ Watt is a different level. He's one of the 3 best defensive linemen, defensive ends in the NFL. Him, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, those are 1, 2, 3, whatever order you want to put them. So you are definitely going to get challenged. But I think what should give him some confidence is knowing that Stefanski is going to go into that game, and wherever TJ Watt goes, it's not like DeWand's going to get a one-on-one every play. And TJ also knows this is the benefit of playing with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. As long as he takes TJ and he's got his hands on him and he takes him further and farther than wherever he wants to go, Deshaun will make you right. And TJ knows that. He can't just run up the field and that he's going to have a mannequin standing in the pocket because Deshaun's going to get out of the pocket, and I guarantee that's the number one thing that defense is worried about this week. So he should have some confidence knowing that he's going to get some help, some chips. He's going to get some double teams. But also TJ's going to have to be more measured in his rush because they don't want to let Deshaun Watson get out of the pocket.
Well, speaking of Deshaun Watson, clearly the elements affected both quarterbacks greatly, Joe. But once it calmed down, I thought the drive right before half was a monumental drive for Watson, a monumental drive in the game. What did you make of Deshaun by the time all was said and done yesterday?
Well, I was really encouraged because I thought his decision-making was really good compared to last season. That was one of the things he really wanted to work on was making sure that not every play feels like it has to be an explosive touchdown. Sometimes just take the easy stuff, throw within the rhythm of the offense, take off when you can, but don't try to extend every play because then you start shooting yourself in the foot and you start making mistakes. And with as good as our defense is, as good as our running game is, just don't make the big mistake. And Deshaun missed a lot of throws, clearly. It was hard to tell if they were coming out of his hand bad or if the wind was really affecting him. I know one of them was tipped, and maybe it was all of those things. But I saw a guy that was more confident. I saw a guy that felt more comfortable in the offense that was built for him this season. And I saw a guy that wanted to have balance on offense and spread the football around. I mean, Harrison Bryant caught a touchdown pass. You saw him spreading the football to a lot of different receivers. I mean, Elijah Moore had 3 catches, Amari Cooper 3 catches. He made some nice throws in some tight windows in coverage. So I was really encouraged, and I'm really excited to get a nice weather game to kind of see where this progress with Deshaun Watson at quarterback is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, you think about now, 7 games with us. Quite a few of them have been played in less than favorable conditions.
Even as one when he was in Houston here.
Oh yeah,
was one of the most dreadful games ever. Yeah,
that was a miserable day there. All right, Hoff. I don't know if it came across on TV like it did in the stadium, but the eruption that Dustin Hopkins got for his first field goal make was like that was a kick to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
It felt like that was a Super Bowl winning kick. The place it came unglued. What did you think of Dustin Hopkins? Boom, all just down the pipe, baby.
Just giving me Phil Dawson vibes, where like when I played with Phil, it was the greatest feeling in the world because as soon as we crossed about the 35-yard line, I knew if it was fourth down, I could go to the sideline, I could put my helmet on the bench, I could start drinking water, and I knew that there was going to be 3 extra points on the scoreboard. And just having that confidence and not that fear and that worry and that anxiousness was so fun. And I think I tweeted it after that first kick, like, I don't remember a time where it felt normal to just kick a 40-yard field goal and watch it go through the upright and not have, like, some outrageous feeling and emotion about it. Like, it's not supposed to be that emotional of a play. It's barely longer than a field goal. So to have a guy that was reliably just kicking field goals and just making the ones you're supposed to make the gimmies. Like, you don't have to kick a 60-yarder every week to keep the job. You just got to make the ones we can have and give us consistency so that the play caller can know, hey, we're on the 37-yard line. We should go for it because this is out of our range. Hey, we're at the 32. I know he's going to make it so I can play for that 3 in my head as I'm strategizing.
By the way, he was making from 60 in pregame warmups, which that surprised me.
Yeah. My Cleveland-born wife celebrated a 42-yard field goal as if it was the Super Bowl. And I'm guessing
that's what it was like in the stadium.
Yeah, like she was like, we've got a kicker. And I'm like, this is what it's supposed to be. It's a 42-yarder. These are routine.
The two loudest moments in the stadium. Gibbe, would you agree with this?
Gibbe's not listening to our show.
Yeah, can you, instead of lounging back there with your feet up and having
surfing the internet,
there are
he's
no
like my
feet
kids.
up.
He's not watching
Oh,
TikTok.
they were feet up. They were feet up.
Feet up.
You were leaned back. Your leg was like.
My leg was on my other leg.
It was, but it was you were in a position of
laid
a
back.
reclined position,
Yeah.
right? With your mind on your money and your money on your mind.
Way to finish.
I'm listening to you guys plus listening to the delayed stream version to make sure that we're sounding okay.
My question, I said the two loudest points yesterday in the crowd, my opinion, were one when Miles sacked Burrow on fourth down, and we've gotten that iconic photo. I tweeted that out today. You don't follow me, but you should check it out. It's beautiful. And then the second was Dustin Hopkins' first field goal. The place was nuts for his first field goal.
And then like after the next kick, the extra point, Donovan goes, Hopkins for mayor.
Hopkins for mayor. yeah. And listen, he was popular at that point. Still is.
Very popular.
Still
the
is.
approval
Never
rating
missed.
is through the roof.
Never missed.
Never missed. No, never
You
did.
guys think Hopkins had the same type of anxiety to kick that first field goal that we did as fans? Because I mean, it's such a routine kick that he probably was just like, what's all this hoopla about? Like, he probably in his mind, he understood why he was here, obviously. But it's probably hard for him to comprehend, like, how stressed fans had been going into that first game to kick a 40-yard field goal.
All right, so two things, my two quick observations on him. Number one, he carries himself like a badass. Like,
you have to
and he
do that job, I think.
Fully believes in himself. And the second thing, Hoff, I feel like he could come in the gym with certainly me, but I mean I think even with you, he's ripped. He's like jacked. He's like I think he is a weightlifter type dude.
Okay.
So I think he's got a lot of. He's not one of those like unathletic looking kickers. Like he looks very much like an athlete.
Well, he was, and even chesty on social, which I liked. Like I'm for it.
Obviously, it's not him, so somebody runs his account.
Yeah.
And so, did you see this off after he makes his first one? You're welcome, which, and then he's like, and another, and like he kept going. I was like, oh my goodness, keep making them. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Clearly, he's not tweeting in the middle of the game.
No.
Well, you got to love, on his behalf, somebody's thrown out some chestiness, which, as Browns fans, like you got to be on board with that. All we've endured 19 years between home opener victories. Like, it's time to show a little bit of that from all aspects of our roster.
Huff, we talked about DeJuan Jones. We talked about all the positives. There are a lot of them. I thought there were a couple of things that are question marks in terms of if you want to be one of the best teams in football. Obviously, Jerome Ford's fumble in your own territory. You just can't have that. David Bell on the drop, can't have that. But I think probably bigger picture, the more concerning one is Jed Wills. 4 pressures allowed, and it felt like Henderson kind of had his way with him a little bit. What is he not getting done at that position that needs to get fixed, and how fixable is it?
So watching Jed was extremely frustrating for everybody, including a guy that used to play the position, because I saw him in training camp, and I'm seeing him on Sunday using much improved technique. Like, the flaws in his pass sets are not there anymore. He's really technically becoming a very refined tackle, which is putting him in great position to succeed. But the frustrating part is the mental flaws, because there was multiple times, and even if you never played left tackle, you could see this, where he was oversetting for where the quarterback was supposed to be setting up in the pocket. And this was my biggest frustration playing with a bunch of different quarterbacks, where, like, there's plays and dropbacks where the quarterback's supposed to be at 7 yards, then he's supposed to be at 9 yards, and sometimes he'll be at up to like 9.5, maybe 10, but usually they'll tell him to slide up once he sets his back foot in the ground at 10 yards. And so because our backs are turned to the quarterback, we can't see where he is, but we know where he's supposed to be, so I'm blocking for a spot. So if my guy runs super wide up the field, I'm going, thank you, I'll just push you further and farther, and my quarterback's got a beautiful pocket, and he can take off, do what he wants. If I know the quarterback's not going to be very deep, I need to be really firm and encourage the guy to rush up the field. If my quarterback's going to be deep, I better get on my horse and get out of my stance and take 3 or 4 really fast kicks. And if he wants to go up underneath me, or if he wants to borish, that's okay, because my quarterback's really deep. But not recognizing where your quarterback is supposed to be and giving up cheap plays like the one that Jack got hurt on. Yeah. He was in fine position, but he just underset and allowed the pass rusher to just run the hoop and run past Deshaun Watson and almost get his hand on the ball, and then runs into your other tackle. And then earlier in the game, he was oversetting, and Deshaun was taking a shallow drop, and he was in perfect position, but then Hendrickson falls off to the inside, and he's making plays on the quarterback, and he's hitting your quarterback. So it's just nobody else on the offensive line was struggling with where Deshaun was, because initially I thought, well, maybe Deshaun's not in the right spot, but he was the only one having a problem with it. And so that's what led me to believe that he was losing focus on all the little details, the refinements that you have to have as an offensive tackle, knowing where your quarterback is. What type of set can I take in this situation? Where can I let my guy go? Where can I not let my guy go? And it was hurting our team, and it was killing him, because for a guy that's improved a ton technically, to give up 4 big important pressures, including one that led to an injury to your other guy on the other side, and a couple of times hitting the quarterback when the quarterback had the ball in the hands, like, you can't have that when it's due to a lack of focus.
So how do you clean that up? How does this get better? Because, he's going to – Alex Highsmith is coming this week.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they don't move Watt around a ton. I mean, they kind of play their sides, but I'm sure they'll flip him around at some point during the game. How does that improve? How does he get better? What are the notes that Bill Callahan, Scott Peters, that they're giving him? And how does this get fixed? Because right now it feels like we are 80% firm on that O-line and 20% leaky.
So the great Eric Steinbach came from Cincinnati when I was a rookie, and he was best friends with Justin Smith, right? He was like the first guy that I knew of that was named first-team All-Pro at defensive end and defensive tackle when he was in San Francisco. But I played against him my second game of my NFL career for Cincinnati, and the joke was, according to Eric, that he would always tease him because they were drinking buddies in the offseason, was that Justin Smith was the greatest almost sack guy in the NFL, because he only would get like 2 or 4 sacks a year, but he'd get like 1 million pressures because he just wasn't fast enough after he beat his man to be able to get to the quarterback, hit the quarterback, and take him down. But he would abuse your quarterback all day. He was impacting the game because he was right there almost every time. And that's what Trey Hendrickson is to me. He's not a guy that gets a ton of sacks because he just doesn't have that second gear like Miles does once he beats his man to get up to like 4.4 speed, sack the quarterback, that closing speed. It doesn't have it. But there's dudes coming to town that have that. And that's what makes me nervous, is that if you're making these consistent mental mistakes, that like the Trey Hendrickson where he's almost there and he's maybe affecting your quarterback, all of a sudden when you're going against a guy like T.J. Watt or Alex Highsmith, like those are sacks, those are big hits, those are game-changing turnovers. And so how do you fix it? What do you say, try harder? I mean, when it's focused, when it's attention to the details, like I know that those coaches are telling them all the right things, but eventually it's one of those things where after 3-4 years, Parcells always said you got to give a rookie 3 years to see if they can figure it out. This is Jed's 4th year, right? Yeah. So this is the year where he's got to show us that I can figure it out, because we've seen the physical. The technique is really, really good. It's as good as it's ever been. Like, I like everything that I see except for those lapses. But unfortunately, if you're a defensive end and you have 20% lapses and 80% of the time you're sacking the quarterback, they put you in the Hall of Fame. If you, as an offensive tackle, have 20% lapses and 80% you're a Hall of Famer, you're out of the league.
That's right.
20% is catastrophic. It's cataclysmic for an offense to give up 20% mental errors because you don't know where the quarterback's supposed to be, or you're taking the wrong step when you know what the right step is. And so what's the answer? I hope Bill Callahan has it, because I don't know. Try harder.
By the way, I like the Eric Steinbach drop there, and judging on his performance at your party, he can still go drink for drink with anybody in the league, maybe.
Oh yeah. And they're Budweisers in the morning, and then they turn to bourbons in the afternoon. So
that's great. Let's hit some quick hitter game balls here, guys. Hoff, we'll start with you on the offense. Who gets your game ball?
Nick Chubb. He was just so fun to watch. Like, when it gets sloppy like that, I love when he takes the gloves off. It just gives me these old school feels that I'm just getting chills thinking about. The way he runs with patience, the way he jump cuts. And as much as I love Jerome Ford, it's just different when you see Nick Chubb in the game. Yeah. All of a sudden it looks like the blocks are amazing when they're blocking the same way. The plays are the same. But to me, he's just such a closer. He's something that he's been around for a while, but now that we have the defense to give us the lead, to watch him close out games for me is going to give me chills every week.
Dr. Z?
On offense, I'm going to give it to Deshaun Watson, because he did not have his best stuff throwing the ball today and found a way to make plays and game-altering plays with his legs. And I thought that audible at the end of the first half
huge.
To into that play, great job by Wyatt Teller to come across. What's that called, Huff? Quarterback counter?
Yeah, we'd call it like a quarterback power or a quarterback counter, but yeah, it's that gap concept where you're pulling the guard. I didn't know he audibled into it. I love it though, because that's what I love about a quarterback that can run when you get to the red zone. Like, you either got to be super precise with your passing game, or you got to be able to run the ball and just run people over, or you got to have a quarterback that can run because you add an additional blocker. And I don't know if you saw Amari Cooper, the job that he did on that one.
Yeah.
He was running like a push crack, right? So he had the corner that was trailing him. He got in the safety's way. So he actually blocked 2 people with his body. And then Deshaun's ability to run the football just to get around after the guard pulls through up into the whole Wyatt Teller following him in there. There's nobody there, because when you run with your quarterback, you gain a blocker, you gain an extra body. And seeing where they shifted in that red zone, making that call, I mean, that's what it's supposed to look like when you get down there. That's the advantage of having a quarterback that can run.
Hoff, defensive game ball, who you got?
Well, if you're letting me go first, I got Myles Garrett because he was awesome. I mean, I could give it to anybody in the secondary. They were fun to watch, man. Grant Delpit playing one-on-one coverage in certain situations. I mean, Denzel Ward being in concussion protocol during the week, still playing one of the best games that I can remember. But, I mean, Myles just being Myles, doing it with a smile on his face. And I love how he kind of pushed back a little bit at the Jamar Chase elf thing, because I do like the elf at midfield. And to me, it's kind of like a personal family thing. Like, somebody came over to my Thanksgiving dinner and they insulted like the family dish that we've been eating for like 80 years, or the way we do things, our traditions. I'm like, no, screw you. I don't care that you don't understand and that you don't like it. That's your problem. But now I'm offended as a man. I'm offended as a member of this family. And now we're going to take it out on you. And I love what Myles did. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Did you see Jamar post-game? Why are you upset? I called them elves, and we just lost to a bunch of elves.
It's great for the rivalry.
It's great.
I love all of it.
I love that whole comment.
I love all of it.
Yeah, it was great. Defense for me, I have so many names written down. I'm going to go with Delpit, because there was one play. He was unbelievable all game, but there's one play in particular. They go 4 wide receivers. We're in a big dime. 3 safeties, 3 corners. Delpit's essentially playing nickel corner. Mm-hmm. The way after they motion, they got their formation, he was one-on-one in the slot against T. Higgins running a slot fade. That is a tough cover for anybody in the league, let alone a safety. And he, at the last second, despite being pushed off on by T. Higgins, I will note that as well, the last second, gets his hand up there, bats the ball away. The very next play was the 51-yard field goal attempt. Miss. We get the ball to 41, and that sequence, he catches that. It's first and goal. All of a sudden, it's squeaky bum time. No. Got it done.
No, he did. Hey, this is a fun opener. Can you imagine next Monday night in Pittsburgh, guys?
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's going to be a treat. That's going to be a treat, Hoff. This is real chance here.
Hoff is going to be out. Hoff, this is when do you depart? He's got a big trip coming up. He's going to the
Sunday.
Pacific Northwest.
Where are you going?
To take on some elk.
Going to Utah, first ever Western big game hunt. I'm very tickled, very excited going out there with.
He's been in training.
One of my good buddies. Yeah, I've been training like I'm going back to Machu Picchu. Only this time I got a bow and arrow over my arm.
Oh my gosh! I mean, if you like it, I can hook you up at Merrimack Cattle Company. They'll take care of you on the elk hunts in Montana. I mean, it's harder to fly into, but
I love it.
If you want to, we can get that done sometime. They got some big boys up there, to say the least.
Let's do it.
Enjoy. Get a big guy. Oh, he'll be ready.
Yeah.
They're cool,
it,
man.
guys.
Elks in the wild.
Yeah,
that's fun, man.
Oh, baby.
Enjoy that, Hoff.
Hoff. Woo!
All right, thanks, guys.
All right.
Pure joy.
Go Brown.
There is the
Let's
Hoff.
go, Pure Joy.
He's like, I don't.
Oh, so good. All right, you'll hear from some of our participants coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. to beat out the competition. Enter the dog race sweepstakes presented by Milkbone for a chance to have your pup compete in the annual halftime dog races. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/contest to enter and check out more from Milkbone at your local grocer or pet supply store. I have a question for you. So I do this thing with Buddy Garrity where I have Bootsy, like, I hold him, and then I have Bootsy, like, run, and then I unleash him, and he tracks him down in like a half second.
It's like Leslie Schaefer did that, I think.
It's kind of a little Game of Thronesy.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
You know, like
Certainly.
for the sport of it. Like if Buddy Garrity could have Bootsy like run in front, I feel like he'd be tough to beat.
If Buddy Garrity could have Bootsy as like a lead blocker?
Yeah, like, you know, like you go to the Greyhounds and they have like that rabbit out there.
Right.
If Bootsy was the rabbit, I feel like Buddy Garrity could have a chance to win.
I think he could too.
He's quite quick.
By the way, true story, in the Pirelli Minetti side of my family, one of some relative somehow worked at a dog track.
Sure.
And was working on the rabbit.
Yep.
And was looking at it, I guess, supposedly, as the story goes, when it went on, unbeknownst. So, thanks for bringing up a traumatic.
How could I have ever known?
I don't know.
That was quite the trial and tribulation. Oh my God, what a way to go!
Yeah, sad.
What happened to Alfonso Pirelli? Yeah,
mechanical rabbit through the dome,
straight through. Holy cow! From that to this, nice home opening win. Deshaun Watson on the final touchdown drive. Here's what he had to say.
Was so awesome, just to feel the energy from the fans, to get the scoring touchdown and get the 2-point. I actually made a bad read, so I know I'm probably going to get a minus on that play. I was supposed to go outside, but I saw a hole, and I just put my foot in the ground and ran behind Joel and Wyatt and those guys, and then reached the ball over, and it just capitalized that whole drive and the whole game. So it was awesome, and the fans was awesome today. Thank the dog pound and everyone in this city for staying, not letting the weather and affect us and the crowd, and it was awesome.
So
now you are. Yep.
But
you were, and then you Oh, I wish that was on camera.
He's just out of view.
Give it to see this.
What a buck passing. We look at Gibbe and he just goes.
Uno back
right
there. Uno's had a great day. Uno's had a great day. Great, the open, all of it. We look back and just to this. Straight to Uno. That was perfect.
Now, Yellowstone has installed a camera that will be active in here tomorrow.
Oh,
right.
great.
Okay.
For the people.
All right. I look forward to that.
All right. What I was going to say was Deshaun Watson had a lot of joy yesterday in this win. That mattered to him. He, after the touchdown pass to Harrison Bryant, basically ran to midfield and was jumping up and down, celebrating, and it was awesome. It was awesome to see. Even after the game, you could tell how happy he was and what it meant to him. And it's just the start, right? And I think Kevin Stefanski, if you saw this post-game speech, which I thought was very good, it's just a start. We're not here to have a great start. We're here to have a great finish.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed the way that he played and the way that when, it would be like akin to, when a basketball player, their shot's just a little bit off, so then they figure out, all right, I'm going to go to the hoop or I'm going to play better D or whatever. He maximized, I think, his production despite not having I'm not exaggerating when this game could have been 38-3.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. If he makes throws that I think he would say I make the majority of the time.
Yeah. The energy certainly was brought defensively. Here's Deshaun on the defensive output.
They were great, and like I said before, the defense was going to do what they need to do, and they kept, bringing the energy for us, and just kept stacking it away. And even though we weren't putting up points early on, they kept coming over there and just keep driving it. It's going to click. It's going to click, and they were always positive. So that's the beauty of this team, is being able to stay together regardless of what's going on, and just put points on the board so we can get that victory.
Yeah, there's a tone setter for sure. Speaking of the defense, Denzel Ward in the secondary, incredible, and our best is brought out by the Bengals. That we just need to do it against everybody else all the time too. But what the Bengals get out of our defense and what we do to them is something that can't be missed. Here's Denzel Ward on that.
I think those guys like to talk over there, so I think that definitely bring a little bit more out. But I mean, we just trying to go out every game and compete and show what we got and be the best. I mean, we want to be the best secondary, best defense, best team, and so we just got to go out there and keep going.
Miles, who was just a supernova in the game yesterday, was quick to give some credit to Zadarius Smith for setting the tone.
I mean, it looked great. I mean, the guy, shortened the edge, made the hit on him early, and then I was been an edge myself, and I see Burrow on the ground. I'm thinking, who the hell? And I see Z, and he's got that big old grin. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get there myself. Cause, he's already set the tempo for the game. So I'm excited for all these guys who are chomping at the bit to beat me to it.
I love that. I love to have a little friendly competition, a little friendly rivalry, as it were, with Zadarius and Miles. I thought it was just. It is going to be fun to watch. Zadarius Smith is a force.
Yep.
And now it's like, oh, we're worried about Miles. Oh, we're worried about Miles. Now you got Zadarius Smith. And I can't say that I'm guilty of looking ahead, but maybe I am a little bit guilty of looking ahead. I wanted to throw one stat out for you just to kind of let this percolate. This is presented without comment. This isn't to lead to anything. It's just,
sure,
a thought. Sure. In their opening week loss to the San Francisco 49ers, left tackle of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Dan Moore Jr., gave up 9 pressures on the day. Sacks, hits, hurries, all of it.
Wow.
Next. By the way, we gave up 9 pressures as a team.
Yeah, I guess this is what I was referring to with when we had talk on, like, Miles seems like he's having the best time.
Yes, the most fun.
Most fun, right?
And
really
I felt
joyful.
that. Oh, Gibby's in his reclined pose because I can't see him.
He's
there.
Yeah, he's there.
He needs to be camera front. Like, this would be like as if Robin Quivers was all of a sudden in a non-visible part of the Howard
Knock
Stern
on
show.
wood, like starting tomorrow, Griff will be able to pop me up and you'll be able to see me.
What I'd like to do is build like a little wall cubicle, and we stick him in that.
Like a dunk tank in the corner.
Yes.
I think he should be like right there.
Yeah.
So that we can see him at all times, and like Gelman.
Do you know how hard it is for me to be sitting here flying blind when I got somebody who can't wait to knife me in the back?
The other day.
I got a front row the other day. It's terrifying.
It's horrifying.
But
he's not as out to get you as he is out to get me.
When we did the hot dog eating thing, and he was behind me, I was terrified.
Yeah, it is terrifying.
Oh.
Look at Scarlett.
He's got a treat. Scarlett's got a treat,
Look
too.
at the coordination, top to bottom.
Fantastic. Everybody's happy.
By the way,
Gibbe, I haven't seen Swag on a Victory Monday.
No, I'd like to see him. I'd like to have him.
Usually you get
I'd
a
like
full
to have
peacock
that
out of
a
him.
little bit of joy. Gibbe, somebody said, and I don't even remember this happening because there were so many great calls in the game, but at Shoestrings26 said the best call from Cincy Cleveland, quote, "I'm just dancing around waiting for Jason Gibbs to give me the read." Jim Donovan.
Did that happen?
We literally had it was something. It was like bang bang on the defensive plays. Oh, it was we had the sack. Miles had the sack.
Yeah.
And I immediately noticed after I give Jim the sack for the Buffalo Wild Wings read, we're in the red zone now. So now I'm like scrolling through and I can't find the red zone copy. I think he still has the red zone copy from up front, and I'm looking. I'm like, where the heck? And I had put it in a different spot and.
There you go.
And the sad part was because it took so long, we did get the funny comment from Jim, but we didn't even have time for molto bene, which is my favorite part of us being in the red
He
zone.
doesn't do it for everyone.
No, it is selective. It is selective. But that would have been I felt like that would have been a very appropriate time.
That would have been a good time.
By the way, can I give you a little peek behind the curtain?
Go.
If you notice, I have skin missing from my hand
Yeah.
here. I think we have the video of it somewhere. Look at Uno's already laughing. Look, he's covering
He knows.
his face
He knows.
in laughter.
Uno's dying.
Was it after the sack or was it after the touchdown to Harrison Bryant?
No, it was early. It was the sack.
After the sack?
The first sack, oboe sack.
No.
Yes.
No, I did
it
not
was
punch
very
the ceiling
early. It was
early
in the first
No,
quarter.
I did not. No way.
You punched the
We'll
ceiling?
go to not on purpose. So the roof is at a very angle. It's
Oh,
angled in there.
yeah.
But it's actually really
jacked the
low.
ceiling.
And I was just like, yeah. And I was like, oh, man. I was for a second worried that I had broken a knuckle. Fortunately, I just skinned it pretty good, though.
You did skin it pretty good there.
Skinned it pretty good.
I was laughing hysterically.
Oh,
Of course
we were
you
all
were.
dying
Of course
laughing.
you
It was good.
So much more to come, including a score. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily.
Listen to Bo
on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Got 1 minute. You're up.
All right, we got a Monday Nighter. Buffalo and the Jets. Jets.
Can you put your hand out for a second? I'm burned. You're hot. You give the pick. I'm piggybacking.
Jets by a billion.
Let's go. Jets. Jets.
Aaron Rodgers saved the Disney deal with Spectrum.
He might have. Yeah.
He did.
Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers need them both today to take down the kid. Come on.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
The doubter. The notorious doubter.
Yeah,
kid.
I know.
Outrageous.
Worst
claims.
text of the game came from the kid yesterday.
From the kid.
Yes.
Hey, kids, enjoy your Victory Monday. It was a sweet one. We are back tomorrow. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You're out. Great show, guys.
You've been listening.